D.W. Griffiths, Douglas Fairbanks and Mary Pickford, Lillian Gish, Charlie Chaplin, Buster Keaton, John Gilbert and Greta Garbo, John Barrymore. These were the stars of the silent age of cinema in the Roaring Twenties. When Rudolph Valentino died in 1926, 40,000 people lined the streets of New York, and police reported at least a dozen suicides by distraught female fans. Now they are just ghostly black and white images, almost forgotten, and we tend to remember the silent era of film more for the slapstick comedy genius of Charlie Chaplin, Buster Keaton and Harold Lloyd. It was the groundbreaking works of W.D. Griffiths' The Birth of a Nation and Intolerance that changed film forever. By 1920, Hollywood had quickly established itself as the film capital of the world. It was and still is a powerful and profitable industry that has dominated cinemas around the world. In Europe, however, directors saw film more as an art form than for box office receipts, something that is still true today, and as a result pioneered different techniques in filmmaking. This greatly influenced America, and many European directors like Murnau were encouraged to go to Hollywood and brought these techniques with them. King Vidor was one director who admired the German films of Murnau, Fritz Lang and Lubitsch. King Vidor would say the difference between European and American film is, in Europe, the camera is free to move through the set, whilst in America the camera is stationary, pointed at the highly paid actors as though recording a play. Indeed, many of the early actors and directors came from a vaudeville background. So in 1925, after the huge box office success of his film The Big Parade, which ran in one theatre for 2 years and grossed over $1 million in that theatre alone, the newly formed MGM allowed King Vidor to make his opus, The Crowd, originally planned as part of a trilogy. The Crowd sets out to tell the story of an everyman, John Sims, born 4th of July 1900. He grows up being told by his father, "One day you will be somebody." The theme of a man in crowd resonates throughout the film, whether as a child at the bottom of the stairs, at work, in the fairground, or on the streets of New York. The camera has picked up John Sims, but you feel it could be anybody, or anyone in the audience watching. It portrays without judgment or sentimentality the cycles of birth, marriage, love, despair, and death, which makes it as valid today as it was in 1928. Against all Hollywood ideals of the time, Vidor wanted an unknown to play the part rather than a Hollywood A-lister. Vidor discovered James Murray, a jobbing extra, and after much reluctance from Murray, got him to screen test for the part. He turned out to be a natural. Murray was cast beside Ellen Boardman as his faithful wife, who was King Vidor's second wife at the time. Early Hollywood was much like today's Hollywood. It would be Murray's only real moment of achievement, though it was a brilliant performance. He slipped out of the limelight and into drink. and a few years later was found floating in the Hudson River, a sad and ominous ending once you see the film. King Vidor, in his autobiography, tells of meeting Murray once before his death. Murray approached him on the street for money. He was drunk and bloated. Vidor once again offered Murray a chance in his next film if he sobered up and lost weight. But this time Murray was too proud. He finished his drink, wiped his mouth on his sleeve and walked off. He never saw him again. D.W. Griffiths was once asked, "Why are more films not made about ordinary everyday lives?" His reply was, "King Vidor has said it all in The Crowd." By the time The Crowd was released in 1928, the silent era was over. The jazz singer, already released in 1927, heralded the end. King Vidor recounts in his autobiography, "I was excited, but greatly saddened. I realised that much of the magic would disappear from the screen." King Vidor continued to direct up until 1980, 66 years, the longest directorial career on record, including an uncredited role for The Wizard of Oz, the so-called Kansas section, which included the famous Somewhere Over the Rainbow song. He died aged 88, the 1st of November 1982.